Welcome to NTD News Today. I'm Chris Beers. Here are today's top stories. Israel carried out airstrikes in central Gaza after Hamas attacked its soldiers. The Gaza peace deal is facing a major test, raising questions about whether Hamas truly wants peace. Tens of thousands took to the streets across the country on Saturday for the No Kings protests. We'll take you to Chicago, where NTD's Chris Bobb was on the ground with demonstrators. Is there a real possibility of economic or strategic decoupling between the U.S. and China? Our expert panel weighs in as U.S.-China trade tensions build. It only took a few minutes for thieves to rob the famous Louvre Museum in Paris, and the heist happened while tourists were still inside. We bring you the details. How can regenerative medicine, including the use of stem cells, ease the pain of arthritis? Vital Signs' Brendon Fallon shares insights from a leading rehabilitation and pain medicine doctor.
This is NTD News Today, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
On Sunday morning, Hamas attacked Israeli troops in southern Gaza's Rafah area, triggering IDF airstrikes. Meanwhile, Israel plans to rename the Gaza war to the War of Redemption.
Today, the IDF announced terrorists fired an anti-tank missile and gunfire towards our troops operating in the area of Rafah to dismantle terrorist infrastructure, all in accordance with the ceasefire agreement. Now, in response, the IDF began striking in the area to eliminate the threat. Just before I came on here, we actually released a statement following Hamas's violation of the ceasefire that the prime minister held a consultation with the defense minister and the heads of the security establishment and instructed them to act forcefully against terrorist targets inside of the Gaza Strip.
It is reported that a commander of Hamas's elite military unit was killed during Israel's airstrikes in central Gaza. On Saturday night, the U.S. State Department said it had informed the nations guaranteeing the Gaza ceasefire agreement of credible reports indicating Hamas violated the pact. Since the ceasefire took effect on October 11th, Hamas has killed at least 32 people in a wave of attacks targeting anti-Hamas clans across the Strip. Meanwhile, Israeli officials accuse Hamas of failing to return the remains of deceased hostages. An Israeli government spokesperson said Israel is committed to the agreement and continues to uphold its obligations. The government is demanding that terror group Hamas return the bodies or remains of the 16 deceased hostages still in its possession. Thieves broke into Paris's Louvre Museum on Sunday morning using a crane to smash an upstairs window and steal priceless jewelry from the area that houses the French crown jewels before escaping on motorbikes. Around 9:30 a.m., the 7-minute robbery took place as tourists were already inside. It was among the highest-profile museum thefts in recent memory and comes as Louvre employees have complained of worker and security understaffing. Video from the scene showed confused tourists being escorted out of the glass pyramid and surrounding courtyards as officers closed the iron gates and nearby streets. According to the culture minister, one of the stolen items was later recovered outside the museum. The recovered item was reportedly the emerald-studded crown of Napoleon III's wife, Empress Eugenie. It is made of gold, diamonds, and sculpted eagles, and was found broken just outside the museum walls. The Interior Ministry said forensic work is underway and a precise inventory of the stolen objects is being compiled. The organizers behind yesterday's No Kings protests say demonstrations took place in more than 2,600 locations nationwide. In Chicago, thousands filled Grant Park before marching through downtown, and later some gathered outside the Broadview ICE Detention Center, where protests continued past the 6 p.m. curfew. NTD's Chris Bobb was there throughout the day. Chris, tell us what you saw on the ground.
Good afternoon to you both from windy Chicago. Yesterday, the protest main event in Chicago was at Grant Park, and there were tens of thousands that had gathered, all holding signs and banners that say, "Stop ICE, No Kings," a lot of anti-ICE rhetoric. The There was also some prominent activists there in attendance. The governor was on stage giving a speech. Mayor Johnson of Chicago was also there speaking to the crowd. Governor Pritzker told Donald Trump to stay the hell out of Chicago. And that same rhetoric was echoed by a number of other Democratic politicians in other states nationwide who objected to the use of the National Guard and ICE agents in their cities. Speaker Mike Johnson said that these rallies are hate America rallies, not no kings rallies. But Vermont Democratic Senator Bernie Sanders said that those in attendance actually love America. From the protesters that I spoke to yesterday at Grant Park, who then made their way over onto Wacker Drive across from Trump Tower in downtown Chicago, there was a lot of frustration with the administration, but most of the frustration was directed at the ICE agents who they've seen an increased number of in their communities. There was also some agitators and activists there. One organization, there was a communist group, Revolutionary Communists of America, who were handing out newspapers, encouraging people to organize with them and get involved in the communist revolutions in the United States. They're planning some speaking engagements across the country, and they were encouraging people to sign up there. We also saw some signs on the streets that said, to be American is to be Antifa. And there were a number of people who went from the main protest area in downtown Chicago and then made their way to the Broadview ICE detention center. Now, there is a 6 p.m. curfew at the Broadview Center. Protesters are given a designated protest zone, and after 6 p.m. they're told to go home. And they get that from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Protesters did not leave last night. There was actually a clash between protesters and the police. There were 15 arrests made, mostly for resisting and conduct violations, misdemeanors. At one point, I was up in the front, and I saw a bunch of protesters shouting at the police, and then they kind of their words were exchanged, profanities, and some protesters were taken away. We have some B-roll footage of that. What ended up happening was the police outside the Broadview detention center went for about an hour after curfew, pushing the protesters back from Lexington Drive down into a neighboring neighborhood, where eventually after an hour they dispersed and went back. So that's what I have from the ground. Back to you both.
All right, Chris, Bob in Chicago, thank you. A strike and a rescue. President Trump says a Colombian and an Ecuadorian have been sent back to their home countries to face detention and prosecution. The U.S. military rescued the two after striking their submarine, which was suspected of drug trafficking. Here's more.
U.S. President Donald Trump says the survivors of a strike in the Caribbean will be sent back to their home countries. Trump posted this video on Saturday, which seems to show a vessel being struck in the water. The U.S. military says it staged a rescue of the two survivors after striking their semi-submersible vessel on Thursday. It was suspected of trafficking illegal narcotics. Reuters first reported on the move to return them to Colombia and to Ecuador, which experts say would mean the military wouldn't have to deal with a tricky legal situation: military detention of alleged drug traffickers whose suspected crimes do not fall cleanly under the laws of war. Trump had mentioned the strike to reporters on Friday.
I don't know too many people that have submarines, and that was an attack on a drug-carrying, loaded-up submarine.
In a Saturday post, Trump claimed that U.S. intelligence had confirmed the drugs, but did not provide evidence. Colombia's president's office, Ecuador's communications office, and the foreign ministries of both countries did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Thursday marked the sixth recent strike of a suspected drug vessel by the United States in the Caribbean amid a wider military buildup in the area, an escalation in Trump's standoff with the government of Venezuela.
Lost Voices of Fentanyl held its 5th annual rally in Washington, D.C. yesterday. The nonprofit seeks to raise awareness about the fentanyl epidemic and demand legislative action. NTD Sam Wong was at the rally to hear from the victims' families.
At the backdrop of the Washington Monument, families from around the country gathered on Saturday to rally against an epidemic that's plaguing the nation.
That's my son pushing the swing.
Debbie Evans is just one among many who is struggling with heartbreak. After losing her son to fentanyl poisoning in 2020, she decided to raise awareness through her artistic talent. In a drawing titled Heaven's Playground, she depicted dozens of children who have passed away from fentanyl overdose, many of these tragic stories hitting too close to home.
I've been over there crying most of the time listening to all their stories, and I know a lot of them now because I've drawn all their children. I still wish my son was here. He promised me he'd never leave me.
And some are turning sorrow into action. Jacob Tao's 3-year-old son Leo died last year after being exposed to fentanyl while in his mother's care. He's now pushing for more guardrails to keep children safe, starting in his home state of Oklahoma, with hopes of turning the effort into a federal law named after little Leo.
I started working on a petition called Leo's Law that would actually require DHS to be testing parents for fentanyl if it's involved or suspected in a case. It could have saved Leo's life, and it could save hundreds to thousands of other children in America.
Today, most of the world's fentanyl precursors are manufactured in China. The deadly narcotic has led to a nationwide epidemic responsible for the death of hundreds of thousands of Americans. According to an investigation by the House-led Committee on the Chinese Communist Party, fentanyl manufacturing is an industry directly subsidized by the communist regime.
The China Select Committee, Democrat, Republicans alike, announced to the world that China was deliberately poisoning us. We are the targeted nation, America. They wanted to stabilize our country. Are we going to have a military in another 10 years going at this rate?
Tackling the fentanyl epidemic has long been on the radar of the Trump administration, from striking drug boats off the coast of Venezuela to designating cartels as foreign terrorist organizations.
So when people in this world start talking about why are we going after these drug boats? Why are we bombing and using kinetic strikes? Because look at these babies we've never had in the history of this country. Babies dying. This is what it's about. So the people that have a problem with the aggressiveness of President Trump and his administration, why don't you pay attention to what's going on? We're losing a generation.
Sam Wong, NTD News, Washington, D.C.
U.S.-China trade tensions continue to rise as President Donald Trump vows a 100% increase of tariffs on China. That's in response to Beijing's unprecedented new rare earth controls. All of this is happening amidst President Trump's efforts to bring manufacturing back to America. So yet again, we have to ask ourselves, is there a real possibility of economic decoupling between the United States and China? Joining me now to discuss is Louis Navellier, chairman and founder of Navellier and Associates, and Rod D. Martin, founder and CEO of Martin Capital. Gentlemen, welcome. Louis, are we seeing the U.S. decoupling from China, and is that even possible right now?
No, it's not possible. China actually needs us. They waived their duties on a lot of U.S. products because they desperately need them, and we need their rare earths, their magnets. So I'm sure cooler heads will prevail.
Rod, what is your view on this situation?
Well, that's correct. I mean, there's no question China needs to negotiate with us because they need our export market. They need to be able to have a cordial working relationship with the United States. In my view, they are negotiating. They are taking a page out of Donald Trump's negotiation playbook and hitting us with an extreme demand right at the end as we're trying to get a deal put together. And I think that deal will be put together. And I think the president made it pretty clear when he did impose 100% tariff, but he delayed it until November 1. So that tells you there's maneuvering going on, and I think we're close to a deal.
And Louis, what do you think is next here? I mean, in terms of maneuvering?
Well, I mean, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is having a meeting on this pretty darn quick. And then hopefully President Trump and Xi will meet at the APEC conference in South Korea. One of the things that complicates these negotiations is President Xi can't travel very far. He's worried about losing control in his own country. So he can make, day trips to Vietnam or South Korea, but he doesn't have time to go all the way across the country to see us and visit us. And, under Trump 1.0, he was up the street from me, brought up 747 SP in, and they took over an entire hotel and erected barriers, and they were trying to do business deals. But he can't travel now because he's afraid he's going to lose power. That's why he fired a general, another top official recently.
Rod, maybe you can expand on that. What is the state of Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping's power and of the Chinese Communist Party more broadly in the state of their country?
I think that's exactly right. I think Xi is greatly constrained right now by what's going on within his own regime. And we're seeing that with this rolling purge in the military. Whether that is Xi purging people or Xi's people being purged really makes no difference. There's tremendous instability there inside the most important arm of the Communist Party. And that indicates that Xi is in some measure of trouble. So, yeah, I agree. He's constrained in his movements. He's constrained in what he's able to do. And some of what we just saw in this rare earths threat is probably responsive to that turmoil underneath the surface.
And Louis, at the same time, we have the United States, at least the Trump administration, the people under Trump are fully aligned during his, with his MAGA agenda. He's had 4 years between 2020 and 2024 to ensure that he selects people who are strong behind him. In some senses, the U.S. is quite strong right now. So how do you look at the state of the U.S. versus the state of China, and who has the upper hand here?
Well, it's very simple. China is in a demographic decline. They've had deflation since May of 2022. Their interest rates are lower than Japan, and they may have to devalue their currency next. They're in deep trouble. On the other hand, all this onshoring is causing dramatic GDP growth, and they'll probably have 5% GDP growth next year. It's not inflationary. It's mostly the construction of all the data centers and onshoring semis, pharma, automotive, maybe eventually furniture. We'll see. It depends where they put the tariffs on. But we're in the midst of an economic boom. It's uneven. It's not a perfect economy, but we're in a lot better shape than China. And demographically, we're superior because we're younger. We're still very pro-family in the South and Mountain West. And we do assimilate our immigrants, of course, but Trump obviously wants them to be documented.
Sure. So, Rod, we have China obviously not on the same footing as the U.S. Now they're announcing this rare earth controls, which garnered a 100% tariff increase from Trump. Can you explain the seriousness of these rare earth controls that would, why would they bring such a response from Trump?
Well, the seriousness, of course, is that a modern economy is very dependent on rare earths. You can't build an F-35. You can't build a semiconductor chip. You can't build anything of consequence anymore without them. And this is an atrophy on the U.S. part that is just inexcusable. We were supplying most of our rare earths needs in the 70s, and then we let that just outsource to China over a number of years in a way that it's just inexcusable. These are national security issues. You actually have to have domestic production of these things, just like you need to have some reasonable amount of pharmaceutical supply chain domestically, because you can't afford to have your population cut off from such things. So what Donald Trump is doing is he's trying to jumpstart a rare earths industry here. China only produces about 60% of the world's rare earths in terms of raw supply, but they refine 92% of the refined supply. We have to reshore some of that here. And I think the long-term result of what she is doing is you see China's monopoly broken over the next several years at an actually accelerating rate precisely because of this hostile action.
So, Louis, can the United States onshore, rare earths at a rate fast enough so that China isn't able to use that leverage over the United States?
Probably not, but we're trying. Obviously, the government took an interest in MP materials. I recommend a stock symbol is IDR. They have rare earth interest, but it's not monetized yet. They've made an alliance with somebody to start, refining it. But it takes a while to do all this stuff. So we have to do business with China in the meantime, and hopefully cooler heads will prevail.
Rod, since Trump's tariffs announcement on April 2nd, we've seen all these flare-ups of trade tensions between the United States and China, where trade tensions between the U.S. and other countries, most other countries, have more or less simmered out. Definitely not the kind of tension we're seeing between the U.S. and China. So what hope is there at this point of the United States and China reaching some kind of mutually agreed upon trade deal?
Oh, I think we're going to. I think they can't really live without us, and for the time being, we can't really live without them. Now, Trump sees them as our largest geopolitical adversary by far. Trump sees us as being in something of a friendlier version of the Cold War here. He understands that they routinely threaten to attack Taiwan, that they have other interests that are adverse to ours, and that they're expanding those interests wherever they can. So he very much wants to take a page out of Reagan's book and constrain their ability to act in a way that kind of defangs them. And the truth is that strategy probably works because, as Lewis pointed out, they are in extreme demographic decline. Yi Fuzhan, who is a senior scientist at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, has shown that odds are pretty good that they lose 75% of their population by the end of the century, which is just unprecedented. And we may see something similar in South Korea and some other places, but China in particular is faced with a tremendous structural collapse over time, because what you end up with is a smaller and smaller number of young people supporting a larger and larger proportion of the population that's elderly, in a climate where most people's retirement savings has been put into real estate. Well, if you have a shrinking population, real estate values are going to tank. So they're really in trouble. They need to grab what they can right now. And Donald Trump is trying to constrain that on the military side while working out trade deals that make sense for both countries.
Lewis, with just 30 seconds, because I want to hear from both of you on this, President Trump is expected to meet Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping in South Korea in a couple of weeks. What do you think could come out of that meeting, or is it just a bit too far away to say?
I think Trump will tell the world that they're buddies and everything's going to be fine. That's what he likes to do.
And Rod?
Yes, I agree with that. And I think that for most practical purposes, that's going to be true. Both countries need each other in trade for the time being. That will lessen over time, but not very quickly.
All right. Louis Navellier, chairman and founder of Navellier & Associates, and Rod Martin, founder and CEO of Martin Capital. Thank you both so much for your insights.
Thank you.
Coming up, celebrating 250 years of the U.S. Marine Corps. The military showcased on Saturday its firepower at Camp Pendleton, just north of San Diego. Vice President J.D. Vance addressed a crowd of 15,000. Stay tuned.
Say goodbye to harsh, bitter coffee and hello to a delicious, smooth brew. With specialty quality beans, expertly roasted in-house, you'll taste the difference with every sip. Fermented with a blend of 50 enzymes, Days Coffee delivers a rich brew like no other. Made with the highest grade specialty beans available, you're sure to taste the difference. Elevate your morning with Days Enzyme Fermented Coffee.
I go by Jackie. I'm 44 years old. I had 3 kids at the time and single mother. I was working 60 hours a week. Still couldn't pay the bills. Skipped meals so that they could eat. It's been hard because one thing falls into place, 10 things fall out of place. I just can't do this alone and make it work.
1 in 5 children face hunger in America, and food costs are rising. But everyone needs nourishing food to thrive, and they can when we work together so our neighbors can feed their families. Call or go online right now to join Feeding America with your gift of just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day. Together, thanks to a nationwide network of food banks, dedicated volunteers, and the monthly support of people like you, we can fill plates with nutritious food for families across America.
One day my mother came over to my house and said, "There's a meeting at the pantry." I said, "Okay," and I went. There were some ladies in there. They were from the food bank. They asked several questions. Some of those were about me and my story, but it helped me to open up a little bit.
We're getting closer to the day when no one in America faces hunger, but we can't do it without you. Call or go online now. Visit helpfeedingamerica.org and give $19 a month, just 63 cents a day. 98% of donations go directly to help millions of people facing hunger, from coast to coast and in your own community. And when you give by credit card, we'll send you this exclusive canvas grocery bag to show you are a part of a movement of supporters working together to help end hunger.
I have people that I can trust. I have hope.
Please call now or make your monthly donation at helpfeedingamerica.org, and your gift can double in impact.
Everybody in my house knows how to ride a bike except me. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Welcome back. From a historic Gaza peace deal to major White House announcements on foreign policy and family care, it's been a significant week for President Trump. NTD's Daniel Monahan has your White House Week in Review.
President Trump brokered a historic Gaza ceasefire and the release of all living Israeli hostages still held in Gaza. Speaking to the Knesset, Trump shared an optimistic vision of the region, calling it the historic dawn of a new Middle East.
This is not only the end of a war. This is the end of an age of terror and death and the beginning of the age of faith and hope and of God.
From Israel, Trump traveled to the Gaza Peace Summit in Egypt, signing the ceasefire agreement alongside Middle East leaders.
We don't want to fund anything having to do with bloodshed, hatred, or terror. We're also agreed that Gaza's reconstruction requires that it be demilitarized.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu nominated Trump to be the first non-Israeli recipient of Israel's highest honor.
As to that other prize, just a question of time, you'll get it. But I want you to get the Israel Prize, our highest award, to our greatest friend.
The Egyptian president also awarded President Trump the country's highest honor, and the Pakistani prime minister renominated him for the Nobel Peace Prize. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. responded to Trump saying he didn't think his peace deal in the Middle East would be enough to get him into heaven.
You're doing God's work here. You've made peace in the Middle East, which is beyond anybody's imagination. This administration has not stopped working for the American people.
President Trump rushed back to America to award the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Charlie Kirk on what would have been his 32nd birthday.
I would not have missed this moment for anything in the world.
Now I can say with confidence, Mr. President, that you have given him the best birthday gift he could ever have.
President Trump this week also signed a proclamation declaring October 14th as the National Day of Remembrance for Charlie Kirk.
Remember Charlie down on the patio? He could sit there all night long listening to this.
President Trump said on Thursday that costs of in vitro fertilization medications and treatment will be slashed.
EMD Serrano, the largest fertility drug manufacturer in the world, has agreed to provide massive discounts to all fertility drugs.
Trump also said the administration would expand access to insurance coverage for fertility care, allowing employers to offer a standalone fertility benefit.
Thank you for all you do to support families in this country.
Following a 2-hour call, President Trump said he and Russia's Vladimir Putin will meet in Hungary in the coming weeks to discuss ending the war in Ukraine.
I thought it was a very good phone call. I thought very productive.
The call came just a day before Trump hosted Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House to talk about possible U.S. missile support.
This is a terrible relationship the two of them have, and it's one of those things.
Trump said he's approved covert CIA actions inside Venezuela against what he calls a narco state run by President Nicolas Maduro.
We have a lot of drugs coming in from Venezuela, and a lot of the Venezuelan drugs come in through the sea.
Senator Jeanne Shaheen accused the administration of sliding the U.S. closer to outright conflict with no transparency or oversight. And for the 10th time, the Senate rejected a House-approved stopgap spending bill as the government shutdown drags on with no resolution in sight. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Lawmakers left Washington after a short week and a 10th failed vote to reopen the government. Republican leaders offered Democrats a vote on their health care demands, but say Democrats turned it down. Here's NTD's Melina Wisecup with a weekly recap from Capitol Hill.
Republicans say their latest attempt to move the needle on ending the government shutdown was shot down by Senate Democrats this week. Senate Majority Leader John Thune said he offered Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer a vote on Obamacare subsidies. Remember, that is one of the main issues that Democrats want addressed in this shutdown showdown. The Republicans say Democrats rejected it, instead insisting a guaranteed outcome.
I said none of us can guarantee an outcome on that. I have said consistently all along, this is part of the deliberative process. We're going to debate and discuss that. It's a very complicated, complex matter. There are no income caps on that. By the way, did you know if you're a hardworking taxpayer, middle-class earner, and your family's struggling to put food on the table, did you know that you are subsidizing wealthy people's health care with that subsidy? You probably didn't.
Schumer, though, outright denied the existence of any such offer.
We're not negotiating in public, plain and simple. And Leader Thune has not come to me with any proposal at this point.
The back and forth comes as the government shutdown drags on for 3 weeks. Both sides still locked in to their positions.
These threats to try to back us off our position, it's not working and it's not going to happen because there is a Republican healthcare crisis that is devastating the American people, and we're going to continue to stand up for everyday Americans.
They're holding the American people hostage, using you as leverage to demand more wasteful spending. That's what they want, to the tune of $1.5 trillion of that.
Senators left town on Thursday after the 10th failed vote to fund the government. Republicans attempted a new strategy to carry on with the regular funding process during the shutdown. They put forth a full-year Pentagon funding bill. Senate Democrats tanked it, too.
President, Democrats like to position themselves as the party of the little guy and the defender of hardworking Americans. But as this vote makes clear, who do Democrats really care about? Democrats.
Senate Leader John Thune reportedly plans to force Democrats to vote next week on legislation to pay military service members during the shutdown. Meanwhile, Senate Democrats this week aim to stop the Trump administration's strikes on foreign terrorist organizations that are trafficking drugs in the South Caribbean Sea.
Congress should demand to know what the evidence is that these boats are part of a cartel, some invading or hostile foreign adversary that would justify using the rules of law and war against these kinds of boats.
The U.S. has conducted a total of 6 strikes so far, stopping approximately 100,000 lethal doses of drugs from being smuggled into the U.S.
The drug epidemic in this country has not gotten any better. The cartels have only gotten more powerful. So the president is taking these unprecedented steps, and it's making a real impact. We are seeing less boats with lots of drugs coming into the shores of the United States of America as a result of these successful strikes, and I think the American people can expect them to continue.
The Senate will soon vote on a Democrat resolution to stop the administration from continuing the strikes against foreign terrorist organizations. In the past month, similar attempts have failed both in the House and in the Senate. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weiskup, NTD News.
The U.S. Marine Corps is celebrating 250 years with a display of military might on Saturday. Vice President J.D. Vance addressing the crowd on the historic occasion. NTD's Washington correspondent Jack Bradley has more.
Though the shape of the battlefield will change, our nation will be just fine, so long as fellow Marines just like you remain faithful to that great Marine Corps legacy.
Over 15,000 U.S. Marines, sailors, veterans, and their family members here at Camp Pendleton, just north of San Diego, celebrating 250 years of the U.S. Marine Corps. Attendees watched dozens of military jet flyovers. There were also skydivers, tanks, military vehicles capable of land and sea, and much more. Vice President J.D. Vance, a former Marine, speaking about his own experience being deployed to Iraq in Operation Iraqi Freedom, as well as investments in the military.
Now, I've also got to give a special shout out to the incredible display that we saw earlier today. It made my heart sing as your Vice President, and it was a testament to the Corps' strength and unbeatable power. It reminded me why I am so proud to have worn the uniform, to be one among your ranks, and to be the very first Vice President to have been a United States Marine.
Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, an Army veteran, also sharing the warrior ethos.
When other parts of the department wanted to lower standards, the Marine Corps stood strong. You, ladies and gentlemen, are the backbone of the United States military.
Many others speaking about the importance of serving the country and looking after those next to you, emphasizing the ideals of honor and courage.
Well, a separate fighter to me, it means always faithful, right? Always faithful means that you take care of each other. That everyone here, they're all my brothers and sisters, and I should treat them the same way I would treat my own brothers and sisters.
You know, this exercise really is a readiness exercise. So having the troops, it showed how well we operate jointly. 250 years is quite a milestone, and I think the United States Marine Corps and Navy is our forward deployed force. They're our best forces, and they're the ones most important to the fight.
The Marines were established in 1775 by the Continental Congress to fight the British before the U.S. became a country. 250 years later, they're still the source of protection for Americans everywhere here and abroad. Reporting by Jack Bradley, NTD News.
Coming up, the U.S. continues striking Venezuelan submarines, allegedly smuggling drugs to the United States. Arian Pazdar has what President Trump now says about a peace offer from Venezuela when we come back.
With almost 4 decades in the spotlight, Cindy Crawford has never lost her stunning glow. With her gorgeous, age-defying skin, US Weekly says whatever she's doing, it's clearly working. How does her skin still look firm, smooth, and youthful at 58? It's meaningful beauty. And now, with new advanced formulas, it's better than ever, delivering our age-defying ingredients even deeper into the skin to fight wrinkles where they begin. Just wait until you see the difference meaningful beauty can make for you.
Instant hydration, instant plumping. My skin looks amazing.
What I'm most proud of is over 5 million women have trusted Meaningful Beauty, and they're getting great results, and I get that feedback from them in airports, supermarkets, walking down the street, and I love it.
And today, we are celebrating 20 years of Meaningful Beauty with a brand new offer you don't want to miss. You can get the entire advanced Meaningful Beauty system with all 5 age-defying super treatments. And when you order today, you'll receive our Targeted Treatment Duo, a $128 value free. Introducing the Wrinkle Smoothing Capsules to target crow's feet, forehead lines, and lines around your mouth. Plus, you'll also get the new Skin Renewing Facial Tool with heat, massage, and red light to boost the absorption of the wrinkle smoothing capsules and reduce the appearance of puffiness. The Skin Renewing Facial Tool and the Wrinkle Smoothing Capsules together create Meaningful Beauty's amazing targeted treatment duo.
This plus this equals incredible results.
Get all this, a $300 value for just $49.95. But you must act quickly. Results guaranteed or your money back.
If you haven't tried Meaningful Beauty yet, this new offer is something you don't want to miss.
This special offer is not available in any store, so don't wait. Scan the code, call the number below, or go to meaningfulbeauty.com right now.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our biggest 3-in-1 sale ever with a limited edition product, a back in stock special, and a closeout deal you won't find anywhere else. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get our MyPillow bed sheets, only $29.88. Any color, any style, any size, even kings, regular $119.98, only $29.88. Once they're gone for good. How about our My Towels? They're finally back in stock, but not for long. Get a 6-piece My Towel set, regular $69.98, now only $39.98. And for the first time and the only time ever, get our limited edition premium My Pillows. They're made with Giza cotton and designer gusset. Queen $17.98, Kings only $19.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the best offers ever. Quantities are extremely limited, so order now.
Welcome back. Tensions between the U.S. and Venezuela are on the rise. The U.S. military keeps striking submarines, which it says are smuggling drugs into the United States. Let's now bring in our international correspondent, Arian Pazdar, who's standing by live in Latin America. Arian, where do things stand? Are the two sides even talking about peace, or is the situation only getting worse?
Hey Chris, good to see you. Thank you for having me. A great question. Are they even talking about peace? First of all, let me give our viewers the latest on this whole situation. So just on Thursday, the US military once again struck a Venezuelan submarine smuggling illegal narcotics from Venezuela to the United States. Now this was the 6th such attack on Venezuelan drug vessels since September, bringing the total death toll to 28. But now, Chris, for the first time, there are reports of survivors who are now in US custody. But the State Department, when asked about these reports, didn't confirm that there were any survivors and if they are in US custody or not. But now, Chris, these tensions between the US and Venezuela didn't just start under President Trump. As a matter of fact, the US already had a bounty on Venezuelan socialist leader Nicolas Maduro for being a transnational drug trafficker. On top of that, the Biden administration last year came to the conclusion that Nicolas Maduro, the socialist leader, cheated in the presidential elections. So the US doesn't actually recognize him as the president of the country. Now, to get to your questions about peace, there are now reports saying that Maduro is offering Trump all of Venezuela's natural resources in exchange for peace. Let's now listen to Trump when responding to those reports when asked on Friday, and then we will also hear from the White House press secretary. Let's take a look.
He has offered everything. He's offered everything. You're right. You know why? Because he doesn't want to around with the United States.
Does President Trump believe his days are numbered there?
I think President Trump believes that Nicolas Maduro is an illegitimate president leading an illegitimate regime that has been trafficking drugs to the United States of America for far too long, and we're not going to tolerate it.
So, Chris, both of those statements were made just a few days ago. So to answer your initial question about peace, the reports say that Venezuela is seeking peace, but as of right now, we don't see any signs of that just yet. Chris?
Right, Arian. Now, in a separate development, Venezuela's opposition leader was recently awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. What is she saying about this whole situation?
Yeah, that's right, Chris. Venezuela's opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado, was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. You know, I see many people saying that Trump should have won the prize, but look, the nominations for the prize are being given out in January. This happened just days after President Trump returned to office, so he couldn't possibly win the prize. But I will say this, it doesn't make much sense for the organization to hand out the nominations in January and then award the prize in October. So this means the person winning it in October is actually winning it for something they did a whole year earlier in 2024. But Maria Corina Machado, she does basically agree with the Trump administration. Just on Friday, she also talked, just like the Trump administration did, she also talked about the crimes Maduro is committing. Let's take a look.
Nicolas Maduro's government is a criminal organization. It is sustained by the inflow of illegal streams, from drug trafficking, from blood gold, from the smuggling of human beings, and the smuggling of weapons. And those flows must be cut off. That is the priority.
Now, Chris, lastly, I do still think there is hope for peace, because if Maduro really made these offers to President Trump to give the US all of Venezuela's natural resources, I really do think that Trump, being the businessman he is, I do think that he will eventually accept such an offer. Chris?
All right, Arian Pazdar, thank you for that report. Coming up, how can regenerative medicine, including the use of stem cells, ease the pain of arthritis? Vital Signs' Brendon Fallon shares insights from a leading rehabilitation and pain medicine doctor when we come back.
Big things are happening at Mathis Home. Come in now for 65th anniversary savings all over the store. Like this oversized sofa in an ultra soft fabric with thick premium gel cushions and 5 throw pillows. Anniversary priced at just $9.99. That's an incredible value. Just one of over 100 great sofas in stock and ready for you to enjoy tonight with fast and easy financing and free delivery. Don't miss out on 65th anniversary savings happening now at your furniture superstore, Mathis Home.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
They're just young people, hungry, homeless, and vulnerable. Covenant House is helping young adults facing homelessness. We're providing safe shelter to thousands, but the need is overwhelming. Please call or go online now. With your gift of $19 a month, we'll send you this blanket as a reminder of the comfort your gift provides a young person tonight. You'll provide safe shelter, hot meals, and medical care. Call the number on your screen or go online to safeplacetosleep.org.
Whispered across generations, a hidden secret unveils the essence of longevity and vitality, a timeless legend regarding energy and wonder. Rooted in ancient health wisdom, we proudly introduce Pure Tang Black Ginseng, a 100% natural organic energy drink made from premium 6-year-old Korean ginseng. It takes 2,260 days and nights from seed to growth, undergoing a meticulous 9-step process of steaming and drying. Black ginseng reaches its full potency, enriched with ginsenoside RG3 and enhanced absorption efficiency. No sugar, no caffeine, no artificial ingredients. Experience the pure, natural power of Pure Tang Black Ginseng. Nourish your body, strengthen your immunity, and boost your energy. To order Pure Tang Black Ginseng, please visit puretang.com.
Kids love it. Parents trust it. Obviously. Explore GJW Plus Kids Series and Ganjiong Campus courses led by expert educators. This is spectacular. Children will learn values like respect, responsibility, and knowledge in language, science, and more. Wow. All while having fun. Perfect. Subscribe today at GJW Plus Kids, where learning meets fun.
Welcome back to NTD. I'm joined in studio by NTD health correspondent and host of Vital Signs, Brendon Fallon. Vital Signs offers natural and nutritional ways of optimizing our health. Brendon, it's nice to see you.
Good to see you, Chris.
What do you have for us?
I think I have some hope for all the people out there dealing with osteoarthritis. This is a condition, we have this cartilage in our joints, which kind of cushions the impact between the bones. Osteoarthritis is where this cartilage has worn down, so you have basically bone on bone, as difficult as that is to hear. So I spoke to Dr. Damon Noto. He's a pain and rehabilitation specialist and he's working directly in this field using regenerative medicine. This is things like stem cells, platelet-rich plasma, PRP, exosomes, and getting those things into the joint to bring regeneration. And this first clip, he's talking about how stem cell therapy works in this kind of situation.
Okay, yeah, it's just amazing to hear about the fact that we can actually help the body regenerate itself. Let's watch that clip.
So when we talk about stem cells, we're usually talking about taking it from the person's body, taking it out and actually giving it back to them where they need it, right? So everybody has stem cells in their body. When you're younger, you have a lot, and then as you get older, it decreases with age, also decreases with health. So if your health is poor, you're going to have less stem cells. If your health is really good, you're going to have more stem cells. So basically, stem cells are the cells in your body that control repair and regeneration. So every day you're breaking down, your cells are dying, and they're being replaced. And what's replacing them and causing your body to stay healthy and regrow are these stem cells, which circulate in your blood. And when you have trauma, those stem cells go to that area, and they're like the foreman telling people what to do. Hey, lay down fibrin here, lay down cartilage here. We need to grow blood vessels. So they're the ones in charge of repairing the body. Sometimes the body breaks down and there's not enough stem cells, or there's not enough stem cells that can get into that area. So places that are what we call avascular, or areas that don't have a lot of good blood supply, tend to not do well with trauma because it takes a long time to heal because stem cells can't get there, right? So a joint has a capsule and the blood vessels don't go always so deep into the joint. So we can take the stem cells from the bone marrow, per se, and then we bring it and we put it directly into the knee. Very powerful, because now those cells are in there saying, hey, cartilage, there's a problem. Let's repair it and regrow it. Obviously, the more stem cells you can put in there, the more powerful the treatment. So there's been studies which show if you take out stem cells and you grow them, so you go from 1 million to 10 million, 20, 30, 40 million, the more powerful the treatment. So in some clinical trials, they have it where they're growing it in a lab and then putting it back, which is amazing and can have amazing effects.
Wow, it's so amazing. Like I said, I mean, just to hear about how the body heals itself and how we can actually use its own ability to heal itself to resolve these things.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly promising for people dealing with these kinds of situations. I mean, my mother, not so long ago, had a hip replacement done. We had a family friend have 2 knee replacements done. It's a long recovery time. It can be, often a year before a person has recovered from this kind of surgery. And if you're doing something like stem cell replacement, it's so much less invasive and such a quicker recovery turnaround.
Do we know anything about when this sort of therapy, this sort of treatment can, hit the streets, so to speak, when people can get access to this?
That's a great question, Chris. There has been some limitation on stem cell use in the U.S., which continues. Florida is one place where they have more relaxed laws, and Texas, I think, and Utah are places that seem to be following a similar path, where these kinds of treatments will be more available. In situations if people want to pursue regenerative medicine in other states, or for instance like New York, there are other treatments like exosomes and platelet-rich plasma, where a person's own blood is kind of spun down and the platelets are removed, and these contain growth factors that can also help regeneration. And these are more accessible in other places in New York.
Okay.
And here, Dr. Noto is talking about exosomes, this kind of related treatment to stem cells.
Okay, and yeah, we have another soundbite with Dr. Noto, so let's listen to that.
So exosomes is one of the new advancements that we've seen. Not that exosomes are new, but we really didn't know much about them before, but with the research, it's advancing fast. So stem cells, the way they work is they release all these growth factors and signal molecules that tell your body, hey, we need more of this, we need to repair that. Well, exosomes is one of those signaling molecules. They're tiny little molecules that tell your body you need to regenerate and repair tissue, and they're very powerful. And we're using them a lot right now in the United States on different conditions to try to get people to repair faster. So we're using everything from osteoarthritis, to lung issues, so people have chronic lung damage, to things such with the brain, chronic fatigue, cognition problems. Exosomes can go anywhere in the body and cause regeneration and healing. Very powerful. And there's a lot less restrictions in the US with exosomes than there are for stem cells. So right now there's a lot of advances with exosomes because a lot of doctors are experimenting it with their patients and offering it to more people. Things go fast when we allow our clinicians to get out there, use it in the clinics, and use it on patients. We start to learn a lot about how things work and how we can get it to work better. With very heavy restrictions, it slows the rate down because we're learning less and we're restricted to just trials.
So this sort of treatment could be seen pretty soon.
I think we're going to see this open up more because the need is so great. This is such a widespread problem. And we work hard through our lives. We're using our joints, and particularly people who are exercising a lot. Like in this full interview, Dr. Noto gives the example of someone who's running like 50 miles a day. They're going to have more kind of wear and tear on their joints, and they're more likely to kind of experience this problem as they're aging.
All right. Thank you so much, Brendon. To see that full Vital Signs interview with Dr. Noto, just go to your web browser and enter ept.ms/joint pain. Coming up, President Trump continues to push for peace between Russia and Ukraine, but this week stopped short of committing to send Ukraine coveted Tomahawk missiles. A foreign policy expert weighs in on where things stand and what's ahead. Stay tuned.
Shenyun Creations, the streaming platform from Shenyun, featuring world-class dance, past programs, and all original music. Masterclasses, behind the scenes, comedy, and more. Explore shenyuncreations.com.
Every day, thousands of kids start vaping. And I can't let this happen to my kid. Of course, it's awkward to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping. Hey, bestie, how sketch is vaping? It's hard to get their attention. Ready? Go. Yes, look at that. You didn't even turn yours over. So if you want to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping, you have to get it trending. Right, Backpack Kid?
Let's do it.
First, invite your kid to do the vape talk. Let's try this. All right.
Why is he here?
Yeah, I gotta get it trending, honey.
Come on.
To the left. To the right. Let's go.
Oh, honey, can we talk?
Yeah, what's up?
I see a lot of your friends vaping.
Visit talkaboutvaping.org for tips on when and how to have the vape talk.
When I arrived in the U.S. at 19, I struggled to find job opportunities without a high school diploma. My name is Ariel, and my entire life changed when I took a chance and I got my high school diploma at age 22. Everything I have, my education, my career, my marriage, I owe to the Adult Literacy Center and my teachers. They were with me every step of the way, helping with my English and math, making sure I pushed through all the challenges. Oh my goodness.
So Ariel, we made this here just for you. It has notes from other people that are here. Your achievement has set an example for so many students. Most importantly, your daughter.
Education was the key that unlocked all my opportunities.
When you graduate, they graduate. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you.
Where did the time go? I don't know how I got here.
You've done the hard part. You quit smoking. Now do the easy part and get scanned for lung cancer. If you smoked, you may still be at risk, but early detection could save your life. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org.
NTD News, the fastest growing independent news source in America.
bringing you breaking news from around the world, expert analysis, investigative reporting, and original, award-winning documentaries. We're known for our uncensored China coverage you won't find anywhere else. We cover the stories that affect you and shape our world without the political noise. We report from the heart with you in mind. Watch us right here on NTD News.
Welcome to NTD News Today. I'm Chris Beers. Here are today's top stories. Israel carried out airstrikes in central Gaza after Hamas attacked its soldiers. The Gaza peace deal is facing a major test, raising questions about whether Hamas truly wants peace. Tens of thousands took to the streets across the country on Saturday for the No Kings protests. We'll take you to Chicago, where NTD's Chris Bobb was on the ground with demonstrators. It only took a few minutes for thieves to rob the famous Louvre Museum in Paris, and the heist happened while tourists were still inside. We bring you the details. President Trump continues to push for peace between Russia and Ukraine, but this week stopped short of committing to send Ukraine coveted Tomahawk missiles. A foreign policy expert weighs in on where things stand and what's ahead.
This is NTD News Today, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
On Sunday morning, Hamas attacked Israeli troops in southern Gaza's Rafah area, triggering IDF airstrikes. Meanwhile, Israel plans to rename the Gaza war to the War of Redemption.
Today, the IDF announced terrorists fired an anti-tank missile and gunfire towards our troops operating in the area of Rafah to dismantle terrorist infrastructure, all in accordance with the ceasefire agreement. Now, in response, the IDF began striking in the area to eliminate the threat. Just before I came on here, we actually released a statement following Hamas's violation of the ceasefire that the prime minister held a consultation with the defense minister and the heads of the security establishment and instructed them to act forcefully against terrorist targets inside of the Gaza Strip.
It is reported that a commander of Hamas's elite military unit was killed during Israel's airstrikes in central Gaza. On Saturday night, the U.S. State Department said it had informed the nations guaranteeing the Gaza ceasefire agreement of credible reports indicating Hamas violated the pact. Since the ceasefire took effect on October 11th, Hamas has killed at least 32 people in a wave of attacks targeting anti-Hamas clans across the Strip. Meanwhile, Israeli officials accuse Hamas of failing to return the remains of deceased hostages. An Israeli government spokesperson said Israel is committed to the agreement and continues to uphold its obligations. The government is demanding that terror group Hamas return the bodies or remains of the 16 deceased hostages still in its possession. Thieves broke into Paris's Louvre Museum on Sunday morning using a crane to smash an upstairs window and steal priceless jewelry from the area that houses the French crown jewels before escaping on motorbikes. Around 9:30 a.m., the 7-minute robbery took place as tourists were already inside. It was among the highest-profile museum thefts in recent memory and comes as Louvre employees have complained of worker and security understaffing. Video from the scene showed confused tourists being escorted out of the glass pyramid and surrounding courtyards as officers closed the iron gates and nearby streets. According to the culture minister, one of the stolen items was later recovered outside the museum. The recovered item was reportedly the emerald-studded crown of Napoleon III's wife. It is made of gold, diamonds, and sculpted eagles and was found broken just outside the museum walls. The Interior Ministry said forensic work is underway and a precise inventory of the stolen objects is being compiled. A strike and a rescue. President Trump says a Colombian and an Ecuadorian have been sent back to their home countries to face detention and prosecution. The U.S. military rescued the two after striking their submarine, which was suspected of trafficking drugs. Here's more.
U.S. President Donald Trump says the survivors of a strike in the Caribbean will be sent back to their home countries. Trump posted this video on Saturday, which seems to show a vessel being struck in the water. The U.S. military says it staged a rescue of the two survivors after striking their semi-submersible vessel on Thursday. It was suspected of trafficking illegal narcotics. Reuters first reported on the move to return them to Colombia and to Ecuador, which experts say would mean the military wouldn't have to deal with a tricky legal situation. Military detention of alleged drug traffickers whose suspected crimes do not fall cleanly under the laws of war. Trump had mentioned the strike to reporters on Friday.
I don't know too many people that have submarines, and that was an attack on a drug-carrying, loaded-up submarine.
In a Saturday post, Trump claimed that U.S. intelligence had confirmed the drugs, but did not provide evidence. Colombia's president's office, Ecuador's communications office, and the foreign ministries of both countries did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Thursday marked the sixth recent strike of a suspected drug vessel by the United States in the Caribbean amid a wider military buildup in the area, an escalation in Trump's standoff with the government of Venezuela.
Lost Voices of Fentanyl held its 5th annual rally in Washington, D.C. yesterday. The nonprofit seeks to raise awareness about the fentanyl epidemic and demand legislative action. NTD's Sam Wong was at the rally to hear from the victims' families.
At the backdrop of the Washington Monument, families from around the country gathered on Saturday to rally against an epidemic that's plaguing the nation.
That's my son pushing the swing.
Debbie Evans is just one among many who is struggling with heartbreak. After losing her son to fentanyl poisoning in 2020, she decided to raise awareness through her artistic talent. In a drawing titled Heaven's Playground, she depicted dozens of children who have passed away from fentanyl overdose, many of these tragic stories hitting too close to home.
I've been over there crying most of the time listening to all their stories, and I know a lot of them now because I've drawn all their children. I still wish my son was here. He promised me he'd never leave me.
And some are turning sorrow into action. Jacob Tao's 3-year-old son Leo died last year after being exposed to fentanyl while in his mother's care. He's now pushing for more guardrails to keep children safe, starting in his home state of Oklahoma, with hopes of turning the effort into a federal law named after little Leo.
I started working on a petition called Leo's Law that would actually require DHS to be testing parents for fentanyl if it's involved or suspected in a case. It could have saved Leo's life, and it could save hundreds to thousands of other children in America.
Today, most of the world's fentanyl precursors are manufactured in China. The deadly narcotic has led to a nationwide epidemic responsible for the death of hundreds of thousands of Americans. According to an investigation by the House-led Committee on the Chinese Communist Party, fentanyl manufacturing is an industry directly subsidized by the communist regime.
The China Select Committee, Democrat, Republicans alike, announced to the world that China was deliberately poisoning us. We are the targeted nation, America. They wanted to destabilize our country. Are we going to have a military in another 10 years going at this rate?
Tackling the fentanyl epidemic has long been on the radar of the Trump administration, from striking drug boats off the coast of Venezuela to designating cartels as foreign terrorist organizations.
So when people in this world start talking about why are we going after these drug boats? Why are we bombing and using kinetic strikes? Because look at these babies. We've never had in the history of this country babies dying. This is what it's about. So the people that have a problem with the aggressiveness of President Trump and his administration, why don't you pay attention to what's going on? We're losing a generation.
Sam Wong, NTD News, Washington, D.C.
It's been a busy week for ICE. We're going to go live with NTD's David Lamb to bring us updates from this week in immigration enforcement. David, how are the immigration operations going?
Yeah. Hi, Chris. So more and more people are getting arrested. So ICE, along with, they said with other federal agencies, they have arrested more than 1,400 illegal aliens in Massachusetts. And this is just one area across the U.S. So now, as far as the criminals, they say that the arrests include murderers, thieves, rapists, drug traffickers, child sex predators, and members of violent transnational criminal gangs. So ICE's message is that they want to hold these people accountable, people that break the law. Chris?
Right, and the FBI has been saying they will not let the immigration system be exploited. Federal agents also came across numerous challenges as well. What can you tell us about that, David?
Right. Yeah. This past week there were a lot of arrests as well as challenges. So, for example, the hacker group known as the COM, they apparently have doxed many federal agents, and this is according to 404 Media. They're saying that the personal information of hundreds of federal law enforcement officials posted um, was released, and this includes data on people working for the Department of Homeland Security and ICE. So to give some numbers on that, that's the information of 700 Homeland Security employees and around 200 DOJ officials, and the emails of 170 FBI employees. And the hackers apparently used Telegram and said that they're trying to cash in on the bounties placed on ICE. So this is referring to what Homeland Security says, that Mexican cartels have been involved, telling people that they would offer bounties or rewards of up to thousands of dollars, up to 50,000, for things such as finding information on these agents, kidnapping them, monitoring them, and even calling on assassination of officials, unfortunately. So that's what Homeland Security mentioned this week. And this all comes as immigration raids. Those that are against the raids say that communities and family members that have been negatively impacted when their family member gets arrested because of these immigration raids. Chris?
Definitely a high-pressure environment for these ICE agents. Has the government backed down as a result of these recent events?
That's a good question. They are not backing down. If anything, they're continuing to do their immigration enforcement. So Homeland Security said that in response to the threats and these recent events, they've been getting, the agents have been getting, facing ambushes and such nature. So they're saying that they're not going to back down, and that, quote, if you threaten or lay hands on our law enforcement officers, we will hunt you down and you will find out really quick. So that's their message. And to go along with that, as far as employment, on Wednesday, there was word that 175,000 Americans have applied to join ICE. Chris, back to you.
All right, David Lamb, thank you. Coming up, Louisiana's governor is banning universities and state agencies from using Chinese AI tools. What the governor says about the dangers of using Chinese AI chatbot DeepSeek when we come back.
Discover the ancient secret to vitality and longevity with Puretang Black Ginseng. Crafted from premium 6-year-old Korean ginseng, each root is carefully nurtured for over 2,260 days, undergoing a traditional 9-round handcrafted process of steaming and drying to unlock full potency and absorption. Experience pure, natural energy with Puretang Black Ginseng. Order now at puretang.com.
With almost 4 decades in the spotlight, Cindy Crawford has never lost her stunning glow. With her gorgeous, age-defying skin, US Weekly says whatever she's doing, it's clearly working. How does her skin still look firm, smooth, and youthful at 58? It's meaningful beauty. And now, with new advanced formulas, it's better than ever, delivering our age-defying ingredients even deeper into the skin to fight wrinkles where they begin. Just wait until you see the difference meaningful beauty can make for you.
Instant hydration, instant plumping. My skin looks amazing.
What I'm most proud of is over 5 million women have trusted Meaningful Beauty, and they're getting great results, and I get that feedback from them in airports, supermarkets, walking down the street, and I love it.
And today, we are celebrating 20 years of meaningful beauty with a brand new offer you don't want to miss. You can get the entire advanced Meaningful Beauty system with all 5 age-defying super treatments. And when you order today, you'll receive our Targeted Treatment Duo, a $128 value free. Introducing the Wrinkle Smoothing Capsules to target crow's feet, forehead lines, and lines around your mouth. Plus, you'll also get the new Skin Renewing Facial Tool with heat, massage, and red light to boost the absorption of the wrinkle smoothing capsules and reduce the appearance of puffiness. The Skin Renewing Facial Tool and the Wrinkle Smoothing Capsules together create Meaningful Beauty's amazing Targeted Treatment Duo.
This plus this equals incredible results.
Get all this, a $300 value for just $49.95. But you must act quickly. Results guaranteed or your money back.
If you haven't tried Meaningful Beauty yet, this new offer is something you don't want to miss.
This special offer is not available in any store, so don't wait. Scan the code, call the number below, or go to meaningfulbeauty.com right now.
Every day, thousands of kids start vaping. And I can't let this happen to my kid. So if you want to talk to your kids, you have to get it trending.
No, you're doing it wrong.
Let's go.
Can we talk?
Yeah, what's up?
Visit talkaboutvaping.org for tips on when and how to have the vape talk.
Thanks for staying with us. A new executive order in Louisiana bans the use of AI from hostile foreign governments, including the Chinese Communist Party, in schools, colleges, and state agencies. Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry sat down with NTD's Steve Lance to talk about why this order matters.
Governor Jeff Landry, thanks so much for joining.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. Governor, you recently signed an executive order in your state targeting the influence of the Chinese Communist Party, particularly applications and software associated with artificial intelligence. Talk to us about what you noticed and why this is such an important issue.
Well, what happened was it came to my attention that some of the college administrators and professors and then students were utilizing DeepSeek on the university equipment. And I was like, we can't have that. Not only because DeepSeek is a tool of the Communist Chinese Party, it's also AI really in a learning environment, I believe, has to have some restrictions, there has to be some guardrails in place. There's this big hype about AI, and it's a great tool, but it's only as good as what you put in is what you're going to get out. And so we put out an executive order that really kind of wrapped all of those things up into one.
Talk to us about how the executive order would actually protect the students and universities, and could a policy like this potentially, or should it be implemented nationwide?
Well, certainly, I don't think any American citizen should be using DeepSeek. That's number one. Because if they knew, because again, everything you do on DeepSeek is going to the Chinese government. And that means they get to build a bigger, better profile on you. That's the danger of using AI. You really have to understand what product you're using, because everything you put in is being kept as you. Because again, you go on and on and on with it, asking them different questions about different things. And so again, it prohibits that. But it goes further in forcing the universities to build guardrails about the use of AI in the educational institutions. We want to make sure that that data is sanitized, that we understand what's being placed in the AI systems so that we're getting the best results coming out of the system.
I want to pivot, if I could, and ask you about crime. You have asked for the National Guard, 1,000 troops, to come to your state of Louisiana. Talk to us about why this is important. There's a big discussion and debate, particularly in blue states, pushing back on this, saying that it's unconstitutional, and they just don't want any part of it.
Well, I don't understand what the big fuss is all about. This is all about public safety, and every American citizen deserves public safety. You certainly shouldn't get a greater amount of safety if you're a Democrat or a Republican. You should get the best safety out there if you're an American citizen in our nation. Look, I saw the value of utilizing the National Guard after the terrorist attack on Bourbon Street on January 1. I brought in 200 National Guardsmen to help us secure one of the largest crime scenes in the country at that time. The city of New Orleans, as is many other major cities, have been under federal consent decrees that were put in place under the Obama administration when Eric Holder was the Attorney General. Those consent decrees basically place the police departments under federal control. The effect of that in New Orleans were 700 New Orleans police officers short. That means we don't have the manpower in that city. Before President Trump came in, we brought in the Louisiana State Police to try to get control of that city. We had some real good impact and effect. Having the president come in and help us bring in federal resources only will further enhance what we're already doing and make the city even safer.
To your point, we've seen a federal judge block the National Guard from entering the state of Illinois. Meantime, in front of federal facilities, the ICE detention facility, you have Illinois State Police filling in that role. And clearly you can see it's depleting the police force. It's really weighing on them and preventing them from preventing other crimes and patrolling that they would be doing otherwise.
Well, you know, the question is for those elected officials in blue states, like the governor of Illinois, it's like, whose side are you on? The criminals or the citizens who want safety? You evidently were not doing a good job before the president wanted to deploy the National Guard, right? So why don't you take some help and allow those boots on the ground? But if you don't want it, we'll take it. I will do and go to any measure necessary in order to keep the citizens of Louisiana safe and to get control of our major cities.
On that topic, if you could, talk to us about what we're hearing in the news, particularly today. I heard it's trending, the Louisiana lockup facility.
Oh, yes, we got a great one. Yeah. So, you know, I got to tell you, again, President Trump's selection of his cabinet, he never ceases to amaze me how brilliant the man is. He's got a great bunch of cabinet secretaries who just go out there and get it done. And of course, Secretary Noem and I served in Congress together. We served as governors together. I saw an opportunity under which we could take a decrepit portion of Angola, which Angola is in Louisiana. It is the largest maximum security prison in the United States. And we had a portion of it that was decrepit, an old facility that we could refurbish. And our idea was to offer to ICE, offer to the Department of Homeland Security, a place to bring the worst of the worst illegals as they were getting ready for deportation or as they were serving out sentences. Why? Because if you leave them scattered throughout the country, they continue their criminal enterprise. I know, I worked in a jail, right? The idea is if you bring them all, especially TDA, MS-13, and notorious gangs, if you put them all in one confined place where they can't get out and they can't communicate outside, you actually make the nation safer. And so we came to an agreement with ICE. We put together, we revamped this facility. Love for you to come and take a look at it. It is called the Louisiana Lockup. It's on 18,000 acres. It's surrounded by swamps and woods, swamps with alligators and woods with bears, and nobody wants to get out of there.
Lastly, talk to us about how state and local law enforcement can work with federal officials, and do you think that Louisiana will be a model in attacking this illegal immigration issue? Oh,
yeah. Well, look, we've signed every MOU or intergovernmental agreement that we could with the Department of Homeland Security. Because, look, you got to remember, think about the tens of millions of criminals that have been sent into the United States that poured over a very porous border, coming into this country with all kind of poisons and nefarious activities, human traffickings and whatever. We've got to clean that up. And the more we clean that up, you're going to see crime decline.
Lastly, I know I said that last time, but you were the former Attorney General before becoming governor. There's a lot of talk on the other side, Democrats saying that these illegal immigrants aren't getting due process. You understand the law better than most. Is there due process?
Yes, there's a whole process on how you process an illegal, on someone who comes into this country, okay, illegally. That's the most important part. These people came into the country illegally. That means they broke the law. That's pretty common sense, very plain speak. I tell you what, there's way more due process in the United States than there is in any other country. Anyone who says that, I challenge them to go try to illegally enter another country. Like try to go illegally enter Mexico and see what kind of due process you get. You end up in jail with not even being able to make a phone call.
Governor Jeff Landry, really appreciate your insights.
Thank you.
Coming up, President Trump continues to push for peace between Russia and Ukraine, but this week stopped short of committing to send Ukraine coveted Tomahawk missiles. Geopolitical expert Kervin Oakwin joins us to discuss where things stand and what's ahead when we come back.
I trod on my glasses yesterday, and I had to pay up front for a new pair that I can't even pick up for another 10 days. So I looked for another way, and I found Select Specs. I ordered online. My new glasses just arrived this morning, and I can pay over the next few weeks. This is the way to buy glasses.
See now, pay later with Select Specs. Next day delivery and deferred payment options. Only at selectspecs.com.
Imagine a coffee that cares for your health. Expertly fermented with a 50 enzyme complex to enhance flavor and remove bitterness. Small batch roasted to a decadent medium dark, resulting in a brew that is gentle on digestion, low acid, and up to 90% less caffeine than regular coffee. Try America's first enzyme fermented coffee today.
There's a whirlwind of emotion and activity going on in this painting. And there's chaos all around and threat from below. The wolves surrounding her, and they're anything but unmoved. They're moving all the time, and we sense that. But this little girl remains.
You can talk to me if you're feeling sad.
Thanks for hearing me out, bro.
Whenever you need to talk, I'm here, okay?
Welcome back. President Donald Trump says he will meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Budapest to discuss ending the Russia-Ukraine war. This past week, Trump spoke with Putin on the phone a day before he met Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House. The world was watching to see if Trump would commit to giving Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine, a commitment that was not made. Here to discuss is Kervin Oakwin. Kervin is a former intelligence professional with direct experience in U.S.-Russia relations. During the first Trump administration, he participated in an overt anti-Russia campaign and now hosts the geopolitical intelligence podcast, This Week Explained. Welcome back, Kervin. Trump did not commit to giving Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine. What does that signal about his strategy to negotiate peace between Russia and Ukraine?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me back on. I know it's been a while, but what I will say about this is it looks like these Tomahawk missiles are being used as a bargaining chip. Not a bargaining chip for Ukraine and President Zelensky, but for Russia and President Putin. So what's happening here is Trump has seen what is happening in the world and understands in these communications with President Putin what is going to affect change in this conflict, and that is pressure on Russia. Now, these Tomahawk missiles, if Ukraine would be able to get them, would cause a lot of damage to Moscow, to the capital of Russia. That would affect the Russian people. Trump knows this, and he is using this as a chip to get Putin to the negotiating table, as I always say, in good faith.
Now we're talking about things that can get Russia to the negotiating table and factors that could go in Ukraine's favor. The president says, quote, "I believe actually that the success in the Middle East will help in our negotiation in attaining an end to the war with Russia-Ukraine." What is your view on this?
Well, look, I mean, we've seen war in the Middle East for maybe thousands of years, not personally, but through history, right? And so now President Trump has brokered a deal very publicly between two groups, two factions that have a ton of mistrust between each other. That is the Jewish state of Israel and the Islamic states that are within the Middle East, most notably Hamas. So we have a peace, we have ceasefire within Gaza. Now that ceasefire is teetering right now, but we do have a ceasefire, something that has paused all fighting. Israel has moved back to their lines within Gaza, and he can use this as a jumping off point to talk between Russia and Ukraine, who do not have those thousands and thousands of years of mistrust between each other. That he can now use that as a brokering piece of, look at what I did in the Middle East, look at what they agreed to. Why can't you guys come to the table with the mistrust that you have and broker something that everyone can agree to?
Not to mention that possibly he can allocate more resources, President Trump, to negotiating peace between Russia and Ukraine now. Hopefully, I mean, we'll see what happens in the Middle East with Israel attacking Hamas fighters who allegedly attacked them. But I wanted to move on to this. President Trump also said he discussed on Thursday post-war trade possibilities with Putin. How big of an impact could that sort of carrot, have on driving Putin to come to some kind of lasting peace?
So we are in a war of attrition right now between Russia and Ukraine. And I think the longer that this war carries on, and I think it was about a year ago that President Putin said or commanded his commanders in the war in Ukraine to come to a completion of that war, to end the war in Russia's favor. So that was going to be, he had told them to do that in early 2026. We are getting very close to 2026. It seems like just yesterday, Trump was inaugurated in January of 2025. Here we are coming up to the cusp of January 2026. We're getting closer and closer to, I think, where Putin feels like Russia is at a point of no return in this war. And he needs an off-ramp here. He needs something. He needs a carrot, and Trump understands that. And I think that you make an astute observation here. Trump is offering him an off-ramp here to come to a peace agreement, something that maybe a year ago that Putin would not have agreed to, but something that both Putin and Zelensky can compromise on. And even Zelensky said, I believe either this morning or yesterday, Zelensky said he understands the reality on the ground, and he is going to have to make some concessions on the ground. So we are getting very close to where hopefully we can find peace there.
Kervin, we just have a few seconds, but I want to get your reaction. What are you watching for as Trump's cabinet prepares to meet with Russian counterparts in the coming days, and as we expect Trump to meet with Putin soon?
Honestly, I'm looking for two things. One is the public statements from the U.S., from Marco Rubio, from the group that's meeting with Lavrov. But I'm also very, very interested in what I am going to be seeing from an open source perspective among the Russian mill bloggers. What are they being told from the Russian state as to what to put out on telegrams or channels like Telegram and Twitter to put out as what will the Russian people accept as victory? So those are the two things I'll be looking for.
Very interesting. Kervin Oakman, host of This Week Explained. Good to see you. Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you so very much. As always, stay safe out there.
Take care. Next, Supreme Court justices are weighing race-based redistricting. Oral arguments took place Wednesday in a case focused on Louisiana. The ruling could have ripple effects for other states that plan to redraw their lines or have already done so. NTD's Steve Lance sat down with Jim Trusty, former federal prosecutor and former attorney for President Donald Trump, to discuss.
Jim, great to have you back with us. So the Supreme Court is hearing this case. It's about Louisiana's congressional map. Louisiana actually arguing against its own map, saying it's too race-based, especially what they're looking at a second black majority district. A key issue is how to interpret the Voting Rights Act, Jim, of 1965. Section 2 of that act does say that a jurisdiction's political processes must be equally open to all races. So if you could, help us unpack this, and how do we get from the initial intent to black majority districts, and was this just ultimately organic?
Yeah, great questions. I mean, look, there's kind of a greater context that's really in play here, and that is it ever appropriate for racial discrimination to be used to fix racial discrimination? And if you go back, Supreme Court jurisprudence, go back to the Bakke case, a reverse discrimination case, that's when Justice O'Connor announced the principle, which was essentially, there are times where we need to do something extraordinary to stop racism, to stop the effects of racism in the political process. And Louisiana could certainly say, with 1 out of 6 districts reliably voting for an African-American candidate, that doesn't track the overall population, which is much higher than that of African-Americans in Louisiana. So the idea of last administration in Louisiana was, let's gerrymander. Now, gerrymandering is a kind of a horrific process for most of us. You look at it and you say, how is this a district that fits together? And in this case, the district that's carved out has been described as a snake. So you can imagine it spans a lot of territory. But the bottom line is the court is really struggling with the idea of when is racial discrimination overtly used? When is that going to be something we can't tolerate? And again, Justice O'Connor set this up many years ago. I think that's exactly what they're struggling with. It's not so much the notion of what equal protection means. It's not the ideas behind the Voting Rights Act, but they're saying, are we forever going to let these types of remedies kick in where a district is created out of thin air to fulfill some sort of proportional race-based representation? So these are complex, difficult cases. It's the second time they've heard argument on it. But I think we're looking at maybe the brink of something quite historic, quite important when it comes to the overt use of race in political calculations by the states.
To your point, Jim, the districting wars have been going on for decades. When you look at the Northeast, a lot of the blue states in New England, if you really take a close look at some of those maps and analyze how did these districts wind up the way they are, certainly curious. That could be a whole different discussion for a whole different segment. What are the national implications for this case? And what would it look like if our understanding of the Voting Rights Act changes?
Yeah, again, new territory, hard to predict with any sort of certainty. But there's another aspect of this that kind of affects my answer there, and that is the Supreme Court has this doctrine they call the political question doctrine. And it basically means if the states are creating some sort of litigation, some sort of issue, and it's not overtly part of our responsibilities or our federal limits to handle in the Supreme Court, we throw them back to the state. And so the very twisted reality of that concept here is that if politicians will admit that what they're doing is nakedly partisan, that we are trying to create another Democratic district, for instance, at the expense of a Republican. This is something that happened in Maryland years ago, where a longtime moderate Republican was replaced by gerrymandering. The then governor, Martin O'Malley, testified in a hearing about this, that, oh no, we were entirely trying to be partisan. Like, they admitted the game. That actually could be the new law of the land, which is essentially, as long as you admit openly that you're doing it for nakedly partisan reasons and not for racial reasons, state courts are going to decide this state by state. And so we may get to a point where the Supreme Court essentially bows out of the analysis. They kind of announce that we're not going to let racial discrimination fix racial discrimination, but then they absent themselves from the battlegrounds to come with individual states redistricting.
You mentioned Maryland. Maryland does have one conservative Republican seat left, and the governor there, Wes Moore, says that he does plan on taking a look at redistricting that one. But Justice Brett Kavanaugh did comment that the Supreme Court has ruled multiple times that race-based remedies should not be indefinite and should have an endpoint. How might that factor into this case?
Yeah, that's really that O'Connor principle that we're talking about, saying essentially, do we really think our country is so inherently racist that we have to employ this very much disliked remedy of using racial headcounts? And so Kavanaugh is kind of parroting what we heard from Justice O'Connor a long time ago. It doesn't, oral argument's a tough one to kind of assess with any certainty where this is going to end up. There's a lot of rhetorical questions. There's a lot of devil's advocate questions. And so Kavanaugh there, I think, is probably genuinely telegraphing that he's wondering, do we put a fuse on racial discrimination and say it's now finally burnt out or it's close to burning out? I think that's what he's struggling with, is the idea of whether we're going to keep letting this happen for a generation or for just this case. But to predict where they end up as a majority or a plurality decision based on those questions is really hard.
Jim, I want to read you something that liberal Justice Sonia Sotomayor said. She said, quote, "Race is a part of redistricting always. My colleagues are trying to tease it out in this intellectual way that doesn't deal with the fact that race is used to help people." She goes on to say that she gives the examples of ethnic communities in predicting what issues concern voters when drawing districts. Is there merit to Justice Sotomayor's argument?
I mean, I suppose it depends on your internal politics, but I think Sotomayor has a very different vision for the altruism of state governments than I have. I mean, I am not at all of the camp that every time that the state decides they want to wade in and fix something that has to do with race, that leads to an equitable result for everybody. So, again, she has maybe more faith in government state houses than I would have. I think that the idea of fixing racism with racism is one that's starting to lose traction with the Supreme Court. You look at some of the college admissions type cases that have made their way up there, Harvard complaining that they have too many high achieving Asians for their population and therefore discriminating against Asian applicants. I think we're starting to move into a world or a country in which we're not going to tolerate overt racism, again, in the guise of supposedly fixing something we all recognize as evil, which is racism.
Coming up, global cybercrime is projected to cost more than $10.5 trillion annually this year. NTD spoke with a cybersecurity expert for tips on keeping your family safe. More on that after the break.
Whispered across generations, a hidden secret unveils the essence of longevity and vitality, a timeless legend regarding energy and wonder. Rooted in ancient health wisdom, we proudly introduce Pure Tang Black Ginseng, a 100% natural organic energy drink made from premium 6-year-old Korean ginseng. It takes 2,260 days and nights from seed to growth, undergoing a meticulous 9-step process of steaming and drying. Black ginseng reaches its full potency, enriched with ginsenoside RG3 and enhanced absorption efficiency. No sugar, no caffeine, no artificial ingredients. Experience the pure natural power of Pure Tang Black Ginseng. Nourish your body, strengthen your immunity, and boost your energy. To order Pure Tang Black Ginseng, please visit puretang.com.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
They're just young people, hungry, homeless, and vulnerable. Abused youth often feel safer on the street. Now, more than ever, that's the most dangerous place of all. Covenant House is helping young adults facing homelessness. We're providing safe shelter to thousands, but the need is overwhelming, and no young person is ever turned away. Please call or go online now with your gift of $19 a month to help a young person. You'll provide safe shelter, hot meals, and medical care. Your gift will show them they're loved. Homeless young people are afraid and alone with nowhere else to turn.
You want to know that there's somewhere you can go that's safe. So the Covenant House did that for us.
Please call now with your gift of $19 a month. We'll send you this blanket as a reminder of the comfort your gift provides a young person tonight. Please don't wait. Your gift is the lifeline a young person needs now. Call the number on your screen or go online to safeplacetosleep.org. Thank you for saving precious lives.
Welcome back. Global cybercrime is projected to cost $10 trillion annually by 2025, according to Cybersecurity Ventures. While sophisticated crime organizations target corporations and governments, individuals are subjected to all kinds of scams and hacks. NTD's Stephanie Cox and Carrie Dunst spoke with Eric O'Neill for tips to defend yourself and your family. O'Neill is a former FBI counterintelligence operative and cybersecurity expert.
You have such an interesting background. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about your first book and your first career before getting into cyber.
Certainly. Carrie, Stephanie, it's great to be on NTD. My background started in the FBI. I was an undercover operative. My job was in counterterrorism and counterintelligence. So counterterrorism, catching terrorists. Counterintelligence is catching spies. So I was an FBI spy hunter. And my final case in the FBI was to go undercover to catch a spy named Robert Hansen, who was a 25-year veteran of the FBI, who ended up being the top Russian mole in the entire U.S. intelligence community. And my final case, because I left the FBI after, was to go undercover in the most unique case the FBI had ever run. I was sent into FBI headquarters as myself to catch a spy. And I don't think we'll ever have a case quite like that. And I managed to accomplish what was finding a unicorn, getting the smoking gun that led to his arrest and an easy conviction.
A full 007 kind of operation.
Hey, something like that.
It's amazing. Wow.
You must have so many insights. And with all of that experience, what led you to commit yourself and work on cybersecurity?
Well, you know, the work that I was doing with Hansen, with the overt job, the covert job was to find information and evidence that would lead to his arrest. The overt job was we were building cybersecurity for the FBI, and I've always had my hands on a keyboard. So as I left the FBI, I practiced law and national security. I founded my own company that does competitive intelligence, and then just recently founded a company that does cybersecurity. I've always kept my mind on what is the most damaging thing for people, and especially as I'm lecturing and talking and I'm on stage. And right now, that is cybercrime. I mean, you open this by saying that cybercrime is costing the population of the world about 10.5 trillion. That's actually underreported because most companies don't always report. It's really around 14 trillion this year. By next year, it could be 18 trillion. So if you were to count cybercrime, the dark web, right? Money that's flowing into the pockets of these new cybercrime syndicates as a gross domestic product. Say the dark web was a place, which it sort of is. Right now, cybercrime would be the third largest economy on Earth.
Wow.
Absolutely. So it would go the U.S. and then China, and then cybercrime, dark web cybercrime is already more than Germany and Japan put together.
That's unbelievable. You've done a great job of outlining the scope of the problem, in its totality. But what about the scope of the problem for individuals, not for sophisticated corporations and governments, et cetera?
Exactly, Carrie. That is why I wrote the book. So this book, if you're a chief information security officer at a company, you're going to pick it up and you're going to learn from it. But what I really wanted to do is create a book that reads like a true crime thriller. And teaches you, as you're reading, all the ways that cyber criminals are coming after us. And what I did is I went back to my origins at the FBI, how I learned counterintelligence, the FBI Academy. So you learn about deception, impersonation, infiltration, confidence schemes, exploitation and destruction. I call it diced, with stories about how cyber criminals are coming after you and me. It's very personal. We have this misconception that what criminals, not just cyber criminals, but cyber spies, what they're doing is using computers to somehow get in their computer. They're not. They're using computers as a way to access us, to fool us into handing over our data.
So paint a picture for us. What are some of the top kinds of scams that you'd see?
So right now, one of the biggest scams going around is using AI in a very clever way to deceive families. So you might get a call, and I'm hearing this from people as I'm talking about the book. I'm hearing this story, the same story or variation from people all over the country. You get a call from your daughter or your sister or your mother, right? And it's frantic. I got into a car wreck, and I'm here in prison. I hit someone, they're really hurt, and I need your help. And the next person who gets on the phone is the public defender, who says, if you don't pay bail quickly, then your loved one, your daughter, your sister, right, is going to spend the next week in jail, and this is the only phone call she gets, right? So this is a huge scam. What attackers are doing is they're learning about you by going through your social media. They find someone that's connected to you, like, say, your daughter. It's usually a daughter or a son. They're calling the parents or they're calling the grandparents, and they're using AI to create a clone of the voice. So you're hearing someone that you believe is your family member, but it's not. It's just AI fooling you, and they create that pressure situation. You feel like, oh, I better pay quickly, and it's usually send a wire, right? You think you're sending it to a defense attorney, and then you finally get in touch with the person, and you find out that it was all a scam. It was a complete scam, and families are losing thousands of dollars to this and many different variations of the scam. And that's a way that attackers are using this time-honored tradition of espionage in a modern environment to fool us into, there isn't even a single bit of code. It's just fooling us into sending our money right into their wallets.
So what could people do to be vigilant that these scams are targeting them?
Well, the number one thing that people have to do is be aware of the scam. And that's one of the reasons I wrote the book. That's one of the reasons I take stages all over the world and talk about this. Awareness is what leads to knowing the skills to defend against it. So you get that call. And what I've been telling families is have a code word. In my family, we use the first line from a silly poem, right? No one's going to guess that. And I can say, you can even say, what's the code word? That's the world we live in now with deepfakes. And if they can't say the code word, then maybe it's a fake. And because this is growing, when cyber criminals find that stuff works, they keep replicating it, and it's just going to get bigger and bigger. And you've probably seen, if you're scrolling through social media, what's happening with, say, Sora 2 and these different AI video creation channels where anyone can create an incredibly deceptive deepfake. You're seeing Mr. Rogers, right, from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I'm Gen X, so I remember watching that show, but doing all sorts of crazy things, and it looks hyper real. It's not. And if anyone can use AI to create deepfakes, then cyber criminals are doing it. So we need to be able to not succumb to the pressure of the moment, to take a step back, to analyze the situation and find the scam.
Now let's look at what advice you might have for some of the other vulnerable people in our lives, the children, elderly folks. How can they learn to adapt in this cybercrime world?
Yeah, Stephanie, that is a great question, because the most vulnerable are the most targeted. So children are targeted because they have pristine credit. Right? Your child has never gotten a credit card. They have a perfect credit rating, right? And so attackers will go after them for identity theft, but they will also go after them for, I've written an entire chapter on exploitation. There are just terrible, mean people out there, and they will go after your children. They'll do it in video game chat rooms. They'll do it on Discord. They'll do it however they can access them, Instagram, social media. And what they'll do is they will become their friends, and they will get them to put themselves in a compromising situation. With teenagers, it can sometimes be send me a naked picture. And then what they do is they exploit them. They say, you've done this. I know your entire family. I'm going to send this out to everyone you know if you don't send me money. Go get your parents' credit card. Go buy gift cards and read them out to me. They find different ways to get this. Get an Apple Pay account. Send me money. And it can be devastating to a child. It can cause depression. They can feel that they're being cyberbullied. And in some cases, it's led to teen suicide. So it's terrible. And with elderly people, they can get fooled really quickly by the grandparent scheme. Grandma, I'm trapped. I'm in a hotel. Someone stole my wallet and phone. I'm using a friend's phone. I need you to wire me money right away. And they've also been very susceptible to finance and romance fraud, right? Romance fraud is where someone who's alone and lonely believes they've fallen in love with someone online, and there's always some crisis. You know, I crashed my car, I just need some help, I want to come visit you, wire me some money. Or finance fraud. Invest in this new scheme. And they will actually show them websites where their $1,000, their test investment, is now gone up 300%. Now, and I tell a story in a book about a pensioner who invested his entire pension with a fraudulent account. And when he said, I'd like to pull some money out to take my family on vacation, the attacker just disappears.
Unbelievable.
And he was left penniless.
Well, we appreciate so much you sharing these tips. If nothing else, the code word. What a genius and simple thing to do.
And there's much more in your book, which is I'm looking forward to
Yes,
reading.
the answers to how to defend against all of this, you know, primarily don't give in to the pressure, think before you act, and all of the different cybersecurity strategies that someone can use to protect themselves in the first place. It's all in there.
Eric O'Neill, thank you so much for joining. The book is Spies, Lies, Cybercrime, Cybersecurity Tactics to Outsmart Hackers and Disarm Scammers. Such a great conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Important information there. That is all for today's news. Thank you for tuning in. Stay with us for the NTD Evening News at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific.